David Brunk remembers traveling the Silver Bridge while covering stories for WTAP. He was just 18 when he joined the station in the summer of 1967. On December 15th of that year, he remembers word coming into the station by the news wires of the bridge's collapse late that afternoon. The next day, he joined news director Glenn Wilson when they flew over what was left of the bridge.
Glenn arranged for an airplane to fly the next morning over the bridge. It was just getting dark. There was not much could be done that evening. And he said, David, you know, you're a young guy learning. Why don't you come along? There's a seat there for you. And we flew down over the site and took pictures.
This bridge, perhaps as soon as next year, is due to get some renovation work. In a small way, that itself may be part of the legacy of the Silver Bridge tragedy.
It really put a light on how important bridge inspection is.
The comparison of Republican lawmakers to President Obama and House Leader Pelosi, isn't that kind of a stretch?
Well, just think about it. What have our lawmakers, Republican, Democrat, what have we done in the last 3 years to correct a super critical problem other than kick the can down the road in saying we hope things are going to get better?
One of the governor's lighter moments was talking about tourism. He mentioned that you hear a lot about Michigan as a tourist attraction. He said, quote, "Who would ever want to go to Michigan?"
Now, because of you, Michael Brown, I cry every day. I have a hole in my heart that will always remain empty. I have a void in my heart that will never be filled.
Derek Rockhold's mother, Tanya Reed, was one of several members of two families speaking at Brown's sentencing. Brown's family essentially said he did not intend to kill Rockhold on June 3rd of last year.
This is a life alternating situation for all of us involved. I want everyone in this room to know that Michael Brown did not want this to end up like this.
I love you. I'm so proud of you, and I'm so proud of this day.
And people who retired from Century Aluminum before the plant's initial shutdown in 2009 say they would not have received their benefits if it hadn't been for Karen Gorel. Gorel's husband was among those who worked at the Ravenswood plant for decades. She led the fight for 7 years before an agreement with the company last winter, an agreement that got federal approval Monday.
All the time it took. It is a shame. We ought to be able to sit down and negotiate this. It should have been took care of, in my opinion, a good bit ago.
Nonetheless, these retirees are grateful to the company's management and board of directors for finally working out an agreement, one that will also help out future retirees.
Some of them are not drawing retirement benefits yet because they're not old enough. But once they become Medicare eligible, they will start drawing benefits.
At a time when you hear a lot about coming together, this event might be a symbol of that, a symbol of a community coming together after years of labor strife. Century was once part of Ravenswood Aluminum, the home of a 19-month labor dispute in the early 1990s. An earlier benefits agreement hinged on the reopening of the Century plant. Before it was announced 2 years ago that would not happen. These people who came to celebrate Tuesday seemed willing to put all of that behind them.
And you knew that you could do it one day longer again.
Todd Baucher, WTAP News, Ravenswood.
Todd Baucher is live outside of Camden Clark Medical Center where the child is being treated. He spoke to Parkersburg Police today to get the latest on this tragic situation. Todd, what can you tell us?
Well, Mary, this all unfolded just after 4 a.m. when police got a call from the child's mother who said her son was having trouble breathing and was unresponsive. The child was treated here at Camden Clark Medical Center with Narcan, but he was later transferred to a Morgantown hospital where Chief Joe Martin said this afternoon he was stable. The mother, 27-year-old Stephanie Joy, was arrested and charged with child neglect, creating the risk of death. She was taken to the North Central Regional Jail after failing to post a $250,000 bond. Joy told investigators she had used heroin Wednesday, but police say it is uncertain what kind of drug was in the child's system.
The fact that the Narcan was used on the child, and the child became responsive as opposed to what it was before they used it, is an indication that there was some type of opiate inside the system or the body of that child.
Martin said investigators did not find any drugs near the child when they responded to the home. Now, this all happened at a home in the 1200 block of Lynn Street. Police detectives and Child Protective Services are conducting an investigation of the incident. Now, Chief Martin says anyone with any information about this case is asked to call the Parkersburg Police Department. Joy and her boyfriend left the child in the care of a roommate at the home they and the child shared on Lynn Street. The couple, according to court records, went out and found heroin, using it in the parking lot of a nearby gas station. That's among the reasons the judge denied alternative sentencing, instead giving her 1 to 5 years in prison.
You were supposed to be your child's caretaker and your child's protector. Instead of taking on that role, you chose yourself. You chose to feed your drug habit.
It's an order issued December 22nd, exactly 1 week ago. It states that the Secretary of Military Affairs and Public Safety is hereby empowered to oversee the use of all of his divisions, including the West Virginia National Guard, in order to maximize the staffing at this state's adult, juvenile, and detention and correctional facilities, until legislative and operational remedies can be developed and implemented. Pleasants County has had a surge in industrial development, much of it under the local radar, in the past decade. An industrial park near the Wood County line led to the location of several companies, the most recent being Sistersville Tank Works, and that's considering a major industrial employer left nearly 10 years ago. One goal the mayor said he wanted to establish when he took office was a good working relationship with council, something one council member says he's accomplished.
Some people in the past, they've prepared the budget and then just thrown it at council blindsided, and council sees it for the first time. This mayor's allows a great opportunity to meet with him over the past, two months, I'd say, and give input into what council wants to see in that budget.
Todd Baucher spoke to the Wood County Development Director today. He joins us live from the newsroom with an update on the search for a new tenant. Todd.
Mary, the once thriving catalog distribution center shut down in July of 2014 when the Washington state-based Coldwater Company went out of business. We know there are a number of companies, all of them involved in some way with manufacturing, who are interested in the property. One, according to the director of the Wood County Development Corporation, may be about to sign a letter of intent for it.
We have 3 people at the table right now who are interested. We continue to field questions from them about the facility. There have been some very, very detailed gas questions, water questions that have taken some digging.
Pearsall says of the 3 interested companies, one is in the textile business and another is an international firm. She did not name the companies. The Development Corporation took ownership of the nearly 1 million square foot property after Coldwater left. And again, Mary, that was more than 2.5 years ago. Many of the people who came for this dedication are related to the man who started this community nearly 2 centuries ago. It was in 1820 when William Root settled in this area, bringing his expertise in producing maple sugar from his home state of Vermont.
His sons lived here and farmed and had a sawmill and grist mill. And some of them, family members, moved further west, left the area, but there are some descendants still here in the area today.
This bridge, for which a historic marker was dedicated, was built in 1878. Today, it's used more for picnics than as a method of transportation. A second bridge for vehicular traffic was built more than 40 years ago. This is still one of several covered bridges still in existence in Washington County.
The builder of this bridge also built a couple of the other ones, and they're all pretty similar. And the other bridges, with a couple exceptions, are still owned by the county engineer, and they're all painted red.
Not all these family members are from the local area, but they've come together to preserve a piece of local as well as their own history. Todd Baucher, WTAP News, Washington County.